Hey everyone, Pro Gamer here, and the book I'm going to be reviewing today is Atlas Shrugged by Ayn Rand, and a little bit controversial of a book. I don't really see why, but it's definitely long. All right, so let me put it to you this way: I read this about a year ago, and there was about 100-page monologue. So one character in the book, it was him talking for almost 100 pages. So I just want to put those two facts out there. I think it's a little over 1,000 pages, and maybe like 60 to 70 of those pages are just one monologue by this one guy, John Galt, over the radio, like in the book over the radio, and it's a little obnoxious. So I'm just giving you a heads up. If you're thinking about reading this book, just be warned that the author came from Russia, the Soviet Union. English is her second language, and there is a 60 to 70 page monologue by that one guy in the book. So if those two things don't turn you off, then I'm going to go into it why I think people should pick this book up. It's the one book that people always reference when we're talking about the government overreaching its bounds. And the reason for that is because the culmination of government programs, government subsidies, all of these different things, excess taxation, regulation, everything. She came from the Soviet Union. She saw what that end result is. The end result is, you know, the government trying to set 20 million different prices, and all the prices have to be set relative to each other. So there's obviously going to be shortages, surpluses. There's no way that you can do it. And she came from a system of government that was flawed and failed. She moved here, and that is where she's coming from. I mean, the person that wrote this book, it took real anger and hatred to write a book like this. And she was angry that people in this country don't understand the end result of too much government. And when she came from the Soviet Union, she knew very clearly. Now, the book is a little bit unrealistic in terms of even what happened in the Soviet Union was not as bad as what happened in this book. In this book, society itself collapses. Now, it's in no one's self-interest for society to collapse. I mean, society might be horrible in terms of millions of people die from starvation because of communism, but the whole country doesn't starve. It's a segment of the population that starves. And in this case, in this book, it seems as though everything was just shut down, like a total collapse of society. Now, while that, it might, in realistic terms, it's never going to be that extreme, but it is pretty crazy. I mean, if you can't get medicine and you can't get food, it doesn't matter if you're only 20% of the population. I mean, that 20% is the end of the world. So I guess it doesn't really matter if it's 100% of the world, as in this book, or if it's just 20%. I mean, the end result is the end result. And if you want to figure out in terms of, how these people think, and they really do believe that they're doing the right thing. And in this book, all these people thought, oh man, well, this is the right thing to do. I mean, this business is suffering because of that business. We got to protect this business, protect the farmers, protect the factory workers, this and that. And oh, the government knows best, do this, do that. And that's what the book is about. And it is something to read. No one ever made me read it in high school, but apparently it's on a lot of reading lists. I guarantee that not a single student ever reads this book. I mean, they might get assigned it, but they're not going to read this whole book. I mean, it really takes an effort to plow through this thing because, yeah, she's ESL, and yeah, it's 100 pages, and it's very dry, and it's not going to be very enjoyable. And it's even worse if you already ideologically agree with the book. I mean, if you're a liberal, maybe it'll open your eyes a little bit, but if you understand economics and you read this book, it's going to be like, it's like you want to blow your brains out after the first couple hundred pages, and it's amazing that the editor wasn't like, yeah, just shave off like 500 pages of this, because it could have been done. It really could have. But it's an important book in U.S. culture, and obviously everyone who studies philosophy knows that objectivism really sprung out of Ayn Rand's theory, and basically what that goes into is just, it's okay to be selfish. I mean, you being selfish, not necessarily selfish, let's say self-interested. You being self-interested, even though you don't intend it to, it actually helps out everyone else. So, just like Adam Smith said about the baker, it's like, it's not out of his kind heart that he supplies the bread. I mean, he has an interest to bake bread so that he can get money and buy what he wants. But you benefit because he tries to sell it at the best price that he can, and you try to buy it at the best price you can. And through our mutual self-interest, we all help everyone out, and it's true. And this book really shows the progression and the logic of how a capitalist society can go from being okay, like, no price controls, food is plentiful, I mean, being decent, and it's slowly but surely, it's not always a revolution like it is in the Soviet Union. Like, it could just be one step along the path. It's like, all right, they ban weapons. All right, so they set up price controls. They set up regulations, new government commissions and new government boards to try to protect business interests. I mean, this stuff happens over and over again. Thankfully, it's not, obviously it's not progressing as quickly as it did in this book in America, but it's a real wake-up call. I mean, the end result of everything, each one program is not going to be the end of the world. Every single program is not bad in itself. I mean, it could do a good thing. But if you take it all in totality, then what you get is the end result of Atlas Shrugged. I mean, every single one of these programs, someone could argue that it's okay and that it's good and it serves some purpose, if that's the only program that there is. But the one program is not the problem. It's the entire amount, the combination of all these programs. So in the end, everyone's self-interest was trying to be met by all these different government bodies, and the thing is that the entire system collapsed because it could not support the weight of all the regulation. And it is a wake-up call, a little bit unrealistic in terms of the outcome. I don't think society itself is going to collapse except for like a little pocket of people that want to be on the gold standard and want to have business. That's not going to happen. I mean, it's totally unrealistic. But what's not unrealistic is that 20% are going to starve to feed the 80%. I mean, you can look at North Korea, where in the 90s, hundreds of thousands of people starved to death in North Korea. Okay, but South Korea is, a developed nation that is on par with America and East and Western Europe. So, the same people, the same cultural heritage, but government really messes people up. I mean, how else is it where you have the same people, same culture, but hundreds of thousands of them starve? The average height is 5 or 6 inches shorter than their neighbors that 2 generations ago they were living together in the same country. I mean, this is what people don't understand, is that this is life and death. I mean, what Atlas Shrugged signifies is a life or death struggle between people who know what's right, who know that free market capitalism is the correct way to go, and those who think that, oh, well, a little bit government, oh, there's some grievance over here, these family farmers aren't getting the amount of money they should for corn. I mean, let's just create an agricultural department. I mean, this and that. And the end result is that millions and millions of people die over these principles. And, North and South Korea, one's communist, one's capitalist. Okay, so they're 6 inches taller in South Korea. They all have food to eat. They're not starving to death. North Korea, the government forces you to work. They don't even pay you, and then you got to go and scavenge food by yourself. I mean, which one do you want? I mean, so if you're not understanding the struggle and how it is really life or death, pick up Atlas Shrugged, and it might open your eyes a little bit. For everyone else that already knows that communism doesn't work, you don't have to read this book. It's okay if you don't. Don't worry. So I'm giving it an 8 out of 10. If you already agree I mean, maybe a 2 out of 10. You don't really need to read the book, but watch just a couple of her interviews. I mean, they really are impressive, and she was a very smart person. So, all right, thanks. Subscribe, and if you like it, more videos to come. Thanks.